Over the years, the media sector in all its different forms has continued in pushing creative boundaries in our societies. Find out about the courageous pioneers who have managed this journey despite the many obstacles they face. It is my honor to introduce to you Mr. Abdullah AlNajjar, Executive Director of Global Brand and Communications at Al Jazeera Media Network. He currently spearheads the network's global brand expansion and multi-platform distribution efforts.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a great honor and pleasure to be among you here and speaking to you all. It's very difficult to speak after Honorable Dr. Mahathir Mohamad or even after Abdullah Khanfar, but when I was thinking about this speech, I was inspired by an early Al Jazeera poster which I came across last week. It should be on the screen. If you guys can get the poster here, please. Anyway, the poster reads as, "Telling the truth is hard. Not telling it is even harder." There are many things that are negotiable in this world, but truth is not one of them. The freedom to speak the truth, to hear all sides of an issue, should be a fundamental human right. Yet, it is not. And if we do not observe the simple rule, then we are all at the mercy of lies, falsehood, and what has recently come to be known as fake news. This is essentially the old war of lies against the truth, light against darkness, and humanity in the face of evil. This is the poster that I was referring to. Truth is a value not to be taken lightly. You are the youth. What does that mean? That we are also a member of the same group. It means that you are the bridge to the future. The truth that you carry, the values that you carry, will shape what the world will become. And you are all responsible to the future. You live in a time of explosion of technologies and platforms that have changed the way that we talk to each other. This was referred to in Abdullah Khanfar's opening speech, how we relate to one another and how we built a view of the world in which we live. While TV stands as a legacy platform, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and a host of other platforms have redefined how we get our news of the world. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, and big data analytics are also massive new technologies that are redefining the present and the future. While these technologies have helped us in so many ways, they cannot replace the role that human beings play in telling the truth. The freedom to tell the truth, express an opinion, the right to be heard, and the right to know are basic human needs, no matter what the technology. In an ideal world, truth would be threatening, voices of opposition would not be seen as challenges, and people wouldn't be intimidated, tortured, or killed for simply telling the truth. As journalists, we believe that it is the freedom to speak the truth that is the key to building bridges of understanding between people, nations, and culture. But we do not live in an ideal world. From the west to east, we are seeing extraordinary attacks on media freedom, on media institutions, journalists, and even on the person on the street. Government and political interests everywhere are silencing, censoring, and in many cases, brutally repressing the freedom to speak the truth. I say, Freedom to speak the truth because our lives, our world, our nations depend on it to build the foundation for any real progress. But truth is not easy. It hasn't been easy, and it won't be easy. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and countless figures throughout history have paid the ultimate price for the courage to speak the truth with their lives. Of late, our colleague Jamal Khashoggi, may God rest his soul in peace, was viciously and brutally killed for simply being a human being and a journalist who had a point of view to share with the world. And there are many like him we don't hear about. As the author George Orwell famously put it, in a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. In the Arab world where I live, where freedom to tell the truth should be a fundamental right, opposing voices have been silenced either through censorship, threat, imprisonment, or death. In this regard, Al Jazeera has been an ongoing progressive organization for nearly 2 decades. We have opened our screens for truth to be told to the powers that be, from the minds and hearts of those oppressed, those downtrodden, and those ignored. And in many ways, our mission at Al Jazeera mirrors Orwell's quote, giving voice to the dissent, opinions, dreams, frustrations, and aspirations of the millions of voiceless and faceless people from some of the most repressive places on earth. From the edges of South America to the hidden corners of America and Europe, to the Arab world, and across to the East, there are stories that need to be told about the human journey of struggle to survive and overcome oppression. These are narratives that are overlooked, suppressed, and often shaped by the powers that be. In the words of Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister, history is shaped by victors. We have a duty to tell the narratives of truth and reality in the face of those constructed by leaders and powers that be. When Al Jazeera first came on the scene, media in the Arab region was completely dominated by Arab dictators. The constant propaganda and the stranglehold on free expression exercised by these regimes promoted a one-sided narrative aimed at protecting their own power status. No room was left for the narratives of opposition and voices of dissent. On our uncompromising pursuit of the truth and raw reality on the ground has made Al Jazeera loved by its audiences, but hated by governments. Governments have said we are pro-rebels, and rebels say that we are pro-government. We've been accused by the West of being pro-Islamist and by Islamists of being pro-West. Arab have criticized Al Jazeera of being pro-Israeli, and Israelis have criticized us for being pro-Arab. So you can't win. In fact, all we have done is follow what true journalism teaches, to bring all points of view to a story and let our audiences, such as yourself, decide for themselves. As a result, the existence of our network being threatened from various governments across the entire world. I remember back in 2005, a leak called the Bush-Blair memo outlined how Bush and Blair discussed the possibility of bombing our headquarters in Qatar, where over 1,000 people from all corners of the world worked. While those who had leaked the memo were imprisoned, the detailed contents of this memo were never disclosed. We later learned from a senior US official that it was true. The discussions had taken place. We were not surprised. Our bureaus in Kabul and Iraq had previously been bombed by the US in an attempt to silence the channel's independence. One of our colleagues, Tariq Ayoub, our journalist in Iraq, was killed by the bombing. May his soul rest in peace. But this did not deter us from our mission to provide a place where the truth could be told and the opinion and the other opinion, which is our motto that we are proud of, could be heard. To give a voice to those who are voiceless, to question and hold accountable centers of power, and to uphold our editorial independence no matter what the cost. We maintain these values even as the US bombed our offices, continuing our coverage of both sides of the story. More recently, we have been threatened by what's so-called the blockade countries, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Bahrain. They demanded that we be silenced or that we be shut down. Al Jazeera, once again, found itself as the target of audacious campaign by regimes aimed at crippling journalism and silencing the truth. But these are familiar themes to us, as I have stated. Since our inception, our journalists have been threatened, imprisoned, tortured, and killed. Our offices have been bombed. Our signals have been blocked from transmitting in certain countries. Our website hacked, and our social media accounts taken down. As I speak to you today, our dear colleague Mahmoud Hussein, one of our journalists, has been sitting in an Egyptian prison for more than 800 days without any charge and even without any conviction. He is in poor health. May God help him. Al Jazeera calls and the calls of human rights organizations for his immediate release have fallen on deaf ears for his release. But we shall not give up. And if I may ask all of you today, do whatever you can to take that message across to anybody in the Egyptian government to make his release immediate. Shutting down independence-free media because it does not toe the government narrative is absolutely uncivilized, backwards, and oppressive. At a time when more dialogue is so desperately needed across the world to be voiceless to the powerless, to suppress the truth, alternative viewpoints, dissent, and opinions is to ask to shut up and be silent, which we will not do. I tell this legacy of history not to wave a flag for Al Jazeera, but to make an example of the fact that telling the truth is hard. As youth, you are the bridge to our future. And as you make your way through this life, you will be tested in your lives to tell the truth. You will also have to make a stand at some point, if you choose to do so, for the values that truth stands for. To change the story, you have to change who tells the story. Who is that? That is you. You become a storyteller that can shape narratives in the world that you live in. You can change things, and the first place to start is yourself. We are living through a time of great change. As I said, new technologies, new discoveries, new political, social, and economic realities. But throughout all of these changes, the one thing that does not change is our responsibility as human beings to each other, to tell the truth, to embody the best of values that will carry the human race forward. And we cannot do this as a civilization without the freedom to speak, to tell the truth, to challenge, and to question. This is the role that all humans have, but it is the responsibility that you, as youth, have special obligations to carry. So, you have a choice, and you can make it your mission and role. as those entrusted with uncovering the truth, going wherever it leads, as agents of change. You are here to serve humanity, to ask the hard questions that will push us forward, to challenge superficial thinking, and to investigate the abuse of power against humanity. You have the power. You absolutely have the power to influence, and you have the power to change history, to make this an absolutely better world. You are the future of truth. I am confident that you and the generation that embodies these values, I'm confident the future is in good hands with you all. I will finally leave you with an Arabic story. A young boy in front of his older brother made a mistake, and they wanted to cover up that mistake. And the dad was looking at them. The older brother told the younger brother, said, "You can lie and you will escape." The father looked at this and wisely said, "But if you tell the truth, you will be saved." Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.